I'm Victoria Gazulis, and I was auxiliary president in 2023. One word I'd use to describe the vibe of my term is sisterhood. While some auxiliary boards do have men in them, especially now that more females are becoming Commodore, mine happened to be all women, and the bond was incredible. I mean, we spanned generations. We're talking from women in their 20s to women in their 70s. The auxiliary was really our vehicle that then not only brought us together, but showed us how much we actually do have in common, from celebrating various life events to milestones within the auxiliary, to just like laughing and bonding together as, women, as like corporate executives, as business owners, and as moms. So it's really beautiful. I'd say what made my board stand out was really the year in which I served. So it was 2023. The pandemic obviously happened in 2020, and of course the repercussions of that kind of carried on throughout like the next few years. So a handful of those presidents had it pretty rough. Like Camille, she was a pandemic president. Leslie was president in 2021. Tina Lund in 2022. I think things were starting to turn around within that time of 2021, 2022, but what I start to see in 2023 is we actually start to get more attendance at events, not just auxiliary events within the club, but broader club events like the Commodore's Ball. So people were kind of starting to come back out and experience the quote unquote new normal. And so that was really beautiful. And I felt like our opportunity as an auxiliary board to really kind of reset the stage of, one, like what do events look like now that we have more thorough attendance? And two, really buffing up that recruiting pipeline. In terms of quirks for my year as president, I think the big elephant in the room was the fact that I was pregnant and gave birth in the middle of my term in June of 2023 as planned. But that made the dynamic pretty interesting in the sense of, one, balancing such a big life change, and two, right, like for the first half of the year being very pregnant, balancing being president of the board and also like working full-time, traveling, etc., as came with my job. The highlight of my presidency was this film project, and look at me here in the hot seat now, 2 years later. So my great-grandma-in-law is Christina Decker, and she served as president in the 80s, and being able to document her story and the stories of so many past presidents. In my time, I had covered 19. It was incredible. I mean, those stories need to be heard. We're talking about presidents spanning from the 70s to today. Being president shaped my view of the mission of the auxiliary in the sense of really trying to evangelize it. One of the things we discuss a lot in my day job is a message doesn't really get across unless you say it 7 times, 7 different ways. The auxiliary, right, our pillars, and the pillar we're probably most known for is social events. My first entry point to the auxiliary, I think back in 2013, was as a model in the fashion show. But in addition to social events, the auxiliary has like a very impressive fundraising arm. And then in addition, a really robust grants and giving program. And that really helps the club out, whether it be on, helping to fund the RS-21s, helping the club, with various youth sailing projects and so forth. So I think simplifying that, right, in terms of social events, fundraising, and gifting, and then evangelizing that, again, 7 times, 7 different ways, and that continues to this day, right? That's really been my focus with the mission. The biggest challenge my board, and I'd say the auxiliary in general, faces, like spanning decades, is reputation. And this idea that we're just kind of sitting around gossiping and knitting, per se. So John Wooden has this great quote about be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is who you really are, whereas your reputation is who people think you are. I've always been more about my character than my reputation. And representing a body like the auxiliary, you almost really have to be concerned with both, right? Like, we know the character is there, and proving to the club time and time again our competency. In my time as presidency, and certainly on the shoulders of the presidents preceding me, the club was then coming to us for grants and gifts. And it became clear that, like, we were truly the fundraising arm. We were really the body that was working hand in hand with the club. And I think that's really beautiful. And I believe the auxiliary has always been that, but has not gotten the credit that we truly deserve as the force we are. If I could time travel back to my first day as president, the advice I'd give myself is the advice I ultimately took, but didn't fully believe until I was done with my presidency, and that's, you've got this. And I'm not saying that just to me, I'm saying that to all of you watching. Women are badasses. I mean, we birth babies, we run corporations, we run boards like this one. Like, you know, make sure it's something you're passionate about, and ultimately whatever skill sets you have, like, will come in handy, because we do such a diverse array of, you know, tasks and take on various projects within the auxiliary too that require different skill sets. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I see the auxiliary definitely getting more men on the board. Because now we're in an interesting space, right? Where historically the club really was a men's club of sorts, right? In terms of officers, et cetera. But now you look at the photograph of, you know, current officers, and it's quite diverse in terms of men and women. We were able to update the bylaws, I believe also in Leslie Rulin's year, to be more explicit about the fact the auxiliary is not just a female board. We have male models in the fashion show now, right? Like, that's a great evolution from where we were back when I was first in the fashion show in 2013. The one word I would use for why you should do it is opportunity. Like, truly, the auxiliary is your oyster. There are so many different roles, from like running the fashion show, which is obviously more like visual, but also like very high energy because it's such a big production, to being treasurer and being at times behind the scenes, really crunching numbers and balancing budgets, to being president, right? And being more like the face of the auxiliary. So there's opportunity for everyone to be on the auxiliary and thrive and make lifelong friends as well, which is incredible. A tip or piece of advice I'd share with someone considering an officer role on the auxiliary to help them to succeed, is keep an open mind. At times you will have difficult decisions to make. Sometimes they're personnel related, sometimes they're budget related. It's just really important to be able to represent the auxiliary as the body that it is, right? It's not just one person, it's multiple people, and being a balanced representation of that. Yeah, at the end of the day, the club is a recreational place that's meant to be where we all get to have fun, right? Having that fun, lively spirit within you, whether you're an officer or not, but particularly in a leadership role, I think goes a really long way. Again, we're not saving lives on the auxiliary. We say that a lot in my day job too. So have fun, enjoy it, and that's how you're gonna make the most of it.